Well, today I am really excited to welcome Franklin Bowen of Q Solutions to our podcast, Next Week's Life. So, Franklin, I'm really grateful you took the time out of your very busy schedule to join us. We're going to have a little bit of fun. And for all of you that are listening, Franklin has been a founding member, actually, of our consortium and a very active and supportive advocate for our Executive Connection Summit 23 and 22. So Franklin has some really fun things that he's pretty much gotten engaged with over the last year or so. So Franklin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Really, truly blessed to be here and excited to be a part of this and be a part of it and do it.
Well, believe me, we're honored. And you have so much to talk about. I mean, you've got such a great background and great experience. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions and let's take this where it's supposed to go. So number one, who is Franklin Bowen? Where did you come from? Where do you live? And what's the story in a short summary of Franklin Bowen?
Okay. Franklin Bowen. I'm originally from Georgia, South Georgia, a little town called Bainbridge. It's about 40 miles north of Tallahassee, Florida. Grew up there until I was about 28 and moved up to Atlanta to begin what I'd say my professional career. Right now, I reside in Gilbert, Arizona. We've been out here for about 5 years, so made the trek out west. And all of our family and everything is back east, but that's kind of where we are right now.
So Georgia to Arizona, that's a heck of a journey.
Yeah.
Hot and humid to hot and hot.
Hot, hot and hot. Man,
Hot
we
and hotter.
just,
Yeah.
you know how it is. You're here. I mean, we just broke down from the 100s down to the double digits instead of triple, and here we are, October. It's kind of crazy, but um,
Well, you know what they
it,
say, Franklin, here in Arizona, the fall colors are the changing of the license plates, right?
yeah,
You get a,
I do miss the fall. Yeah.
yeah, I do too. So tell us a little bit about where your career started. I have a few questions about that. So where
Yeah.
did Franklin really start your career?
I mean, my career in general working was at a grocery store. And I talked a little bit about this recently with the group of young people I was speaking to. And I got my first job in Cairo, Georgia, as a cashier at a grocery store, a place called Piggly Wiggly. I think they're only in the South if they even still exist these days. But I was a cashier, 16 years old. Kind of made my way up through the ranks there, doing office work. I was an office manager. I was a stock clerk and grocery manager. I didn't really think about it at the time, but I did kind of. Now I appreciate it that I tried to put in the work, and I had to work. If I was going to have a car and different things, that's just kind of the way it was for me. But I saw pretty quickly that putting in the work, showing up on time, being available, opened up opportunities. So that's really where I started working. And then in 1998 is when I entered into what is really the imaging industry with a small dealer down in South Georgia called Tri-State Office Products.
Hmm.
I was a delivery guy. So at that point, I was actually just out. I had a van, I had a route, and I would deliver office supplies, paper, staples, furniture. I'd disassemble furniture. I kind of from a distance could see the copier industry and see those guys in the shop working on equipment, things like that. But at that time I wasn't even a technician. I was still kind of going to college part time and figuring out what I wanted to do. But that's really how I got in the industry. And then from there it kind of spiraled into the technical side and software solutions, et cetera, into what we're doing today. But that was the beginning way down there in South Georgia. It was some great times.
So what did that dealership in South Georgia sell? What brands and what products did they sell?
Sharp. So they were sharp as far as equipment went. So that's really what began my whole career. And really, I mean, primarily my whole professional career has been with a Sharp dealer or working direct with SBS. But that was their main line. Of course, we would service some other things. But at that time, I remember, working on analog machines before digital was really out, before machines were ever connected. So, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, but, I was actually, working on analog copiers, replacing parts and drums and toner and all that stuff and different fusers and all that. I mean, that really was just kind of how I got going. Was really fun actually. Um, and
So,
then they did a lot of furniture. Yes.
no. Please finish.
Well, they did a lot of furniture, so we would assemble a lot of things, and really it was like a full office kind of upgrades, at that time, furniture, office supplies, and then of course the print copy equipment.
So, when you were at the dealership, how did you find your way to Sharp Direct, if you don't mind my asking? You said you went from the dealership to Sharp Direct, I think?
Not directly. So from that dealership, I was there about 6 years, and from there I worked in Tallahassee, Florida, and that was actually only a year. So I went down and worked for a dealer there that was on the Copy, Star, Muratech, Kyocera side, and really just kind of went for a different opportunity. I just finished school. Just kind of some things changed and needed a change. So I went to work there, and it was only for a year, but looking at that now, I really learned a lot of my maybe some ethics and just punctual and just some things that I think kind of fine-tuned me for later in life. So I worked for a guy. This was called Southeast Digital Networks. It was actually two brothers at the time, and one guy was actually ex-military, and just he taught me a lot about, not that I wasn't on time at any other job, I already mentioned that, but just even getting things dialed in to be more direct, more, being upfront and kind of learning, interfacing with customers a little bit differently. So I just learned a whole other side of attention to detail, I think is really what it was, and just being, humble, but just kind of having a few more responsibilities. He kind of opened the door to me doing some different things. We started doing some networking and stuff like that. So that jump down to Tallahassee was a year, and then I moved up to Atlanta that was actually a dealer there, DocuTeam, which was a Sharp dealer at the time, the third largest Sharp dealer in the country. So that was in Atlanta, and I moved up there, and then eventually they were purchased by Sharp. But that dealership, that branch, then became Sharp Business Systems of Georgia in like 2010. So that's what got me there to be the direct side.
So that's really the path you took to find your way into the Sharp corporate world.
Yes, sir.
Was that the first SBS or one of them?
It wasn't the first. I don't remember which one. Maybe New Jersey was the first. I can't remember. It was one of the newer ones. Yeah, for sure. Back in 2010.
So when you were with the dealer in Tallahassee, I would imagine as a young guy in the business, you were learning an awful lot. Who was the then mentor to you coming into and growing your career at that particular point? Did you have a strong mentor?
So I would say the owners there. So Rodney Watts is who I worked for. Sydney was kind of the service manager, and he kind of brought me in. And at that time, they didn't really have a copier technician. So I came in and had the digital experience. So I was kind of immediately like the lead digital copier repair guy. And I kind of taught the other techs there some of that side, but then in turn, they opened the door for me to do some networking. We started doing a lot more connectivity. Back then it was like, we're just starting to put network cards in these machines and making them print and scan. I mean, really basic stuff, but exciting stuff. So really, I mean, he was the mentor, day in and day out being there, expanding where my territory was, teaching me attention to detail. I mean, all the way down, I remember taking equipment apart, and, you'd have on your desk all these screws and different parts and pieces, and you're upgrading something, and then you got to put it back together. And he would actually come around, and he was kind of messing with you halfway and halfway serious, but he's like, "Hey, Frank, like, what's that screw? Where does that screw go?" And it's like, you better know like where that goes so that you put this thing back together the right way. And it wasn't exactly like every screw you needed to know exactly what hole, but it was a grouping, and it really taught me to be like, hey, you need to think about your process. Don't just jump in and just completely dismantle something without knowing how it's going to go back together, right? Because that's an important piece of it. So really, just stuff like that, just things at the time. I was like, man, what's this guy doing? Like, is he serious? Like, but now I'm like, how monumental was that? Just because in business and life, the details are what really can kill you, if you overlook those things. So, I mean, just small things like that has been huge in my life.
So when you look at your career thus far, so you've gone through the dealer channel and obviously the imaging channel from analog to connected, and you find your way at Sharp Business Systems or SBS. What do you think was your inspiration to continue to grow yourself? Find ways to develop your career sets, I should say skill sets, and what recommendations do you have for someone who might be in a similar situation like you, starting as maybe this generation's version of a technician? What would you recommend? What did you learn, and what did you recommend? What are your leadership thoughts?
I mean, really, I mean, it's really simple, and I mean, it's almost too simple to believe, but it works. I mean, it's just really giving it your all. I mean, no matter what the job is, what position you're in, give it everything you've got, right? Because no matter what that is, what little job you might have, or even if you don't like that job, give it everything you've got, because it's a stepping stone. It's a life, and business is a ladder, right? You can't, if you've got a 30-foot something to get up to, you can't jump there. So take a ladder. Each rung on that ladder is a step, and if you give it your all, things are going to open up. I mean, that's what really happened to me. I just really tried to do what was expected of me. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, these days people just kind of expect for things to be handed to them, or they don't see the work and effort. But really, showing up on time, doing the job the best of your abilities. And if you see a position that you want, strive for that, and maybe ask for it, or put in the work to get there. But just continue to grow. And I think now it is difficult for somebody that's younger. Oops, I got a friend here jumping on me. Uh, it's hard as a young person to see it that way. But now being older, I'm like, every little thing I did, every job was a step to the next thing. I remember being a technician, and I really enjoyed the IT side, connecting devices, uh, putting things on the network, working on servers and all that stuff. I didn't really think a lot about sales, but I found myself able to kind of interact with customers, and I got good at talking to customers, because, as a technical person, a lot of times they see you're an end user sometimes more than the salesperson. So really, that technical guy that's out there working on equipment, they're a face of the company. So I just got to where, I'll try to talk to customers and things like that, be open, and just not be some IT guy that didn't know how to speak to people right. And then that opened the door to a sales opportunity. I mean, all of a sudden they asked me to come in and be a specialist when I was at DocuTeam in Atlanta, which was the Sharp dealer. And it's like all of a sudden I'm thrust into this thing where I got to wear a tie and a long sleeve shirt, and I got to go do demonstrations. And like, I was so nervous, I was like, what am I doing? But like, it forced me to grow. And it's like, looking at it, it's like it was the next step into a career. Like, as that IT technical lead, like that product specialist was that next premier thing, right? It was the next position for me. And I did look at that, and I'm like, that would be cool. Like, I don't know if I can do it, but I think just doing that hard work and trying to learn and just really giving it your all every day. I mean, it just led into those things, and doors opened if you're doing the right things. This is my
Well,
opinion.
it's interesting because over the course of the last, I guess, year and a half, 2 years that we've had an opportunity to interact and work together and grow a friendship, everything you just said is you in spades. But if you don't mind my adding, I think your integrity and your work ethic and your humility and your sensitivity actually to the people around you, be they a partner or a client, you have extraordinarily high commitments and determination to make sure that those clients and partners are satisfied properly. So if you don't mind, I'm going to make sure that I stick that into this little conversation because you're an extraordinary young man, and I love when I see people do the big things and the small things with equal passion. So you do that, you make sure that you're listening, you're saying thank you, thank you, appreciate it. You're doing those little and big things. So I don't want the audience to lose sight of really the essence of who you are. So moving forward, you clearly were gifted in the technical side, but the leap from technician to sales, that's a major step up the ladder. So
Yeah.
what made you think, hey, you know what, I can do this, I want to do this? Because usually the technical people are very, very good at it, but they're scared, I guess, to take the leap.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about all that?
And I agree. It's hard sometimes to find somebody that can do sales and IT and technical. Sometimes it's a box. I think the people that can do that are just well-rounded, and it fits a lot of companies. For me, I think because it wasn't full-time sales as like a territory rep, right? It was technology sales. It was a specialist, so I still got to install software in the demo room, work on new products, and I got my hands on all the new stuff, all the cool new stuff. That was exciting for me. I got to be the first one to set up these things and connect and figure it out. But yet I still was able to be sales, and I was paid from the sales side, and I started to understand, commission and how all that stuff worked versus just a salary. So that really, that was a drive, obviously, to see. I mean, sales, you don't really have a limit. I mean, the more do, and again, the more effort I put in, and the more I learn, and the better I get, the more compensation I can get. And it's not about money, but it opened the door for different levels. So for me, it was kind of perfect. The nerve wracking side was, again, dressing up, which was different, having to go out and do presentations in front of customers, and people came into our demo rooms back then, and you would have to do the whole dog and pony show and do all that stuff. So that was different, and it was kind of took me a while to master that, I guess, but I was still being able to show technology, still working with it. I was actually in control of our demo room. I got to work on the server and all the software things that we would sell. So it was kind of like the perfect thing for me. It was still technical, not fully sales out in a territory, but kind of right in the middle. And I was learning under the executive leadership. I was learning under people with right there at the president, level. And it was awesome. It was some of the best times of my life at that point.
So you made two decisions, at least in the time frame that I've known you. One was to leave the friendly corporate environment where there's a steady check and life insurance
Mm-hmm.
benefits and all the things that go along with it in a core business. And then you branched out into AV and started your own company. So that's, again, quite a journey and a quick journey. So looking at the core business to what you're doing now, can you tell the audience what the difference is and why are you excited about the things that you do today? Because I think it's a great opportunity for dealers and for the industry.
Yeah, so I guess if I back in 2010 kind of started the AV journey, at that time with Sharp, they introduced the Aquas board. Maybe it was 2009, but right in there, and so this was this interactive whiteboard, right? This huge screen, giant iPad thing, giant tablet, and this thing rolls in, and all you think about is a whiteboard. It's like, what do you do with this thing? It's like even me is like you're kind of clueless, no idea where that would lead. But that was an audio visual device, so that was the first time I was really exposed to that. And then about that time, it was like, okay, you three. So it was me and two other team members that were the specialists, and really we had all been like hybrids where we would all work as a team and we would focus on the same products and just give demos when our calendars would fit. Well, with this new product and the Sharp coming in, it was more like we're going to be a dedicated specialist. We kind of need somebody for AV. We kind of need somebody for software, which is like the paper cut, all that stuff, document management. and then we need MFP. So it was kind of like a toss up, and they actually kind of asked like, who would want to be the AV, like who wants to learn these boards? And that's the Aquas board. So I had just really started getting into those things, and that was the monumental shift, because now you've got this device that's a little more hands-on and a little more of like, maybe the sexy side of things and the sizzle, where you can show something and it became a visual tool. Now people can come in and, instead of the copy or print devices that at that time were just everybody was starting to do the same things, there wasn't a lot of separation. I mean, of course, a good product is a good product, but there wasn't anything that really made you shine over the next dealer or manufacturer. But that Aquas board, that device was just different than anything. So I started learning it, and then we sold hundreds or thousands of those things, and it kind of led down the AV path, because then we started seeing, well, okay, this is a device for a conference room, and it works for most people, but hey, what if I need speakers and microphones and all this other integration and all those bolt-ons? Well, we started learning how to do those things, and how to build kind of an integration business. And that really is what kickstarted the whole thing into what I do today, because from Atlanta, I transferred out here to Arizona, to Tempe, continued to work for Sharp Business Systems. I was the integration manager. So they brought me out here to do exactly what we did. And what I'm doing today was that conference room service side, some of the more higher end parts of the AV. So it's funny because, I mean, now we're talking, let's see, like 12, 13 years. And man, I'm still selling that same product. Like it shows you, how much of a shift, and some people recognize that. Some dealers did, some don't. How much of a shift that product and that piece of technology, brought in all these other things, because now you could go out then and now, and you can talk about AV if you had a closed door on the other parts of the business. Now they don't want to talk as much about the MFPs. Everybody's just trying to turn over leases, and it's more difficult. Margins are different. Everybody is just so tight. Everybody's banging on the same doors. Well, now you could go offer some kind of other product and service, and they would talk to you almost immediately, and then those other things can come in behind. So you might get in the door with the AV, and then the copier stuff follows you because of how good, the AV side. Sometimes it's the reverse, but again, that's really what changed the game, man, is those types of products and those boards, those displays, and just the AV side. So, I mean, I think somebody that can get into all those things and at least bring that piece in, right now we're still killing it. I mean, we're still putting those same devices, and then of course we're doing all these other things, but it's conference rooms and meeting spaces are not going anywhere. That's the most types of products or opportunities that we're working in today.
So do you see this as a major upside opportunity for, the imaging channel even today? Is it seems like when you left Sharp to open your own business, COVID didn't slow you down, work from home didn't slow you down. So it sounds like you're pretty bullish about what you can do and how you can grow your business the next, I don't know, foreseeable future. Is that how you feel?
I do. I mean, people aren't slowing down. I mean, at least out here in Arizona. And I mean, we're doing stuff in different states, but I mean, the way I would put it to anybody is any business or dealer, that's out there, whatever state, your people are going to have meetings, right? You're going to meet with a customer somewhere. And you may be going to talk about software or a hardware device or a service or anything. And I bet you're going to go speak to a customer in a conference room. They're going to take you and sit you down in somewhere that's either a large room or, right now we see a lot of the smaller rooms, which is like a huddle room. So we don't have as much of the big executive rooms as we used to, but they're going to take you down and you're going to pitch your product and your company, and you're going to be in some kind of a conference room. So all your people have to do is just kind of look around, and you'll start to see all this old projector technology and TVs on the wall and cables all over the place. So you're already in the environment for what I'm talking about. Okay, maybe you're not an expert, but it just starts asking the questions, hey, I know we're here to talk about your color print device, but hey, I see you've got all these wires on the table and you've got this projector. Like, how are your meetings going? What are you guys doing right now? And I bet they're going to say something like, oh, well, if the room is such a pain, we hate it. Like it doesn't work. And man, there's your golden ticket. There's the opportunity for a conference room upgrade that could be anywhere. I mean, I don't know, average right now could be, 7,500 to 20K, per room. It just all depends on what they need. So you're leaving an opportunity kind of on the table for somebody else. And you don't have to be an expert in AV if you have the right partners, because I mean, we're a small company and yet we can do big things because we try to bring in the right people and resources and manufacturers. So, we can help with those kind of things as well if need be. But definitely there's a lot of opportunity to grow the business from that side of things.
Well, I'll tell you what, obviously I follow you on LinkedIn all the time, and recently, the last maybe 6 months, I've watched you do some magnificent projects. Some are big, some are small, but they're all really effective. And the bigger ones are, wow. I mean, that takes, talk about the sizzle. So
Yeah.
obviously that helps the company do a lot of really important, cool things. And if a dealer, Franklin, in the marketplace, let's say, I don't know, a dealer in you know, I don't want to pick on LA, but it's too close, but wherever it might be, uh, in Kentucky or in Minnesota or someplace, if they wanted to learn more about what it is that you do you provide that kind of service or support for them to either train and or if they have a big project, add some consulting capability to that program?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean we do a lot of that now and we're trying to grow, and I mean I'm always willing to help somebody, and because it's twofold, right? It potentially helps that dealer to bring something on, and it helps us as well because now we're in the middle of a project, right? And it's kind of like that company is now one of my salespeople. So absolutely we do that. We help with training. We do what I would call being a specifier. So for a lot of the companies or some of the dealers, we'll act as the consultant and we'll help you engineer the project. So basically, your people goes out and finds the opportunity, brings us in, and absolutely will help. We'll do some kind of a team or Zoom call. We can travel. I mean, we take each project individually and kind of dissect what's best for both sides. We'll help in any way possible. But if it's a specifier role, we can go down and we can say, all right, here's the products and pieces to make this work. This is what your customer needs. I can help source these things. My people, my guys can do the labor. We can do your training and services. Well, here's some products that you could probably source. And I'll even call out exactly what the SKU or the recommendation is. And then the branch or dealership can bring in products. Because if you have, relationships with the tech data or whomever, any distributor, right, you may want to bring in certain things. I don't have to resell you all the hardware, but it's a team effort. And then you bundle it, and then they're selling it to the end user. It's still your customer. We're a partner. We can be as transparent as you want to. We can be as upfront and open. I can come in and wear my shirt. I can take my shirt off. The point is we're a partner, right? And now we can work together and capture some revenue and some business, and have a customer and have something to kind of use as a reference. And that's what it boils down to, is trying to do things right and have somebody as a reference versus just trying to sell something and kind of moving on. But it's a way to kind of ease into these deals. And it's certainly not saying that, a dealership has to all of a sudden have a whole AV division. You're just going to have these opportunities that come up, and the point is you don't want to turn them down, right? If you've got a client and you're doing all these other things and all of a sudden they ask you, oh, hey, do you guys do conference room? Like, I've got this big problem in our big meeting room here. Do you do that? Like, you don't want to say no. Like, maybe you can't do it all yourself, but you've got people, you've got a partner, and we can help with that. So absolutely, we'd love to do that.
Well, we'll make sure that everyone gets your contact information, of course, but that's really helpful because I know a lot of dealers are either in the program or trying to get into this side of the business, and they just need a leg up. Sometimes they just need to punch it up a bit. So
Yeah.
if you have a program for that, I'm sure there are a lot of dealers that would appreciate it. So let's get back to Franklin as a person. So if I
Yeah.
was sitting right here with your best friend, whoever that might be, and I asked that best friend, tell me the best thing about Franklin, and tell me what really annoys you about Franklin. What do you think they would say?
Uh, you know, I'm honest, I'm open. I try to be available. And like, I really, when I'm involved in something or when I'm helping somebody, whether that's personal or business, like you've got my all, you know, I'm trying to be devoted and committed. And I would hope they would say that, Franklin gives his all and like he's really a team player and, we can trust him and he's knowledgeable. That's what I really strive to be. Um, I will say sometimes it takes me a while to get going on things like my list, to get to something, it might take me some time, but that's because I'm trying to, when I do dive into whatever that project or task is, that I can give it my all. And once I'm in and I'm on something, man, I'm really on it and we're going to see it through. But sometimes it takes me a little longer to get going. So maybe that's a fault is getting to that item. Not like weeks and months, but I'm just saying it. Sometimes it's in your head, you want to get on something immediately, but you just know it's not realistic. So hopefully that's the only negative.
Well, those things kind of go hand in hand. When you're committed to excellence, oftentimes you're going to take a little bit more time to assess the opportunity and make sure you can do it right to the
Right.
level of that you expect. So, what do you do in your free time? What I because you're an intense guy, right? You really want to get the job done. You're focused on your family, focused on the opportunity, making sure you do the right things. What makes you laugh? What do you do for hobbies?
Uh, I may be a little boring. I work, first off, as a business owner, I mean, the hours are definitely different. So I really commit during the day, as much as I can to the business. And because I don't have any options, like there's no way to fail here. Like I've, quit the job and that's what I do. So I give it my all there. From there, I mean, I'm close to home. It's family time. I try to pick most days. I pick my daughter up from school. I'm able to do that, so it means a lot to pick her up. Sometimes that's early afternoon and go take her to clubs and stuff, and then we're home and we try to have. We do. I shouldn't say try unless I'm out of town, which is so rare. We have dinner together, and we were here as a family. My wife Lori and my daughter Isabel. So it's just the three of us. So we do that. We just try to spend time together. We don't, I don't know, my hobbies, I guess, would be I like to work out. I'm trying to stay fit, try to go to the gym. I like to get outside. It's hard to do that right now. So definitely when the weather is better, I like to go out on a bike ride and just kind of get outside. I definitely like sunshine and vitamin D, right? We don't travel too much. We kind of stay local, but just all basic things, I guess. I serve at my church, so I'm actually an audio engineer. So I give some of my time to our church, and I run the soundboard. So worship music and worship audio is kind of a passion. It kind of started out as just serving, at church occasionally, but it's really become something that I've tried to take a lot of pride into, and I've learned a digital audio mixing board. So we do that. We work with our live stream team and production team. So I usually will do every other week or two on, one off, that kind of a thing. So that's become a great hobby to try to learn and be better at that, all while serving God and, and helping people at the same time. So
So
I don't know. I'm not.
your personal satisfaction really comes from family, faith, and basically your business, and which all kind of
Right.
hangs together, right? It,
It does.
you can't be a great business person if you don't have some commitments to discipline and faith.
I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, for me, I mean, faith is everything, and I quit a great job and with a great company and kind of went out on a limb and I only could have that peace because I really felt God was in that. And, he already gives me strength, all my strength and talents and everything that I can be to be successful. Like that all comes from him anyway. So I really had to kind of jump off the ledge, and it definitely was a risk, but, I don't think I could be successful in the way that I view success. Like, sure, people could, if you're all about money and, being successful, I don't know that you have to have God in your life, but I don't think it's sustained. And I think it's more of a quick fix, right? But, we just try to be honest with people, and do business the right way, because, I mean, we're small, like, but people call me all the time out of nowhere. Sometimes I don't even know where people find us. We're trying to be active everywhere, but manufacturers, dealers, people just call us. And I really feel like that's from doing things the right way and trying to be ethical. And, like, yes, we're about making money, and it's not wrong to make a profit. That's in the Bible, but yet we're not trying to kill somebody just to make a dollar and, never get their business again. We're trying to make sure we can have people as a reference and then continue to grow. And then we can say, hey, look what we did there. So, with being a business owner, I mean, it's tough day to day, sometimes hour to hour, right? I mean, it's highs and lows and ups and downs. And I don't feel like I could get through that and make it through the other side of some challenges that you have without having faith, because, I don't put my trust in the world and worldly things. It's God's peace, and it just allows me to kind of go through the day. And if we're doing great, great, we'll celebrate that. If not, we know that tomorrow's still coming and things can change, and, he's going to provide income and work for us, and he has done that so far. And then it all intertwines back with the family, because, we're all faithful, here, and we all put our trust in God, and, it's just kind of the way that we live. And I think it holds us together. I think these days a lot of people can choose to leave whatever situation, but, we're in it, and I feel like we have to lean on him for that strength.
Well, I think it's safe to say the world could use a little bit more faith, don't you think?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
So keep showing us the way, Franklin. So let me ask you about your daughter. Is she
Okay.
more like you, or is she more like your wife?
Um, she looks like me. She's like my little twin. So my wife is, kind of happy about that. Maybe not, but she's leans on my side with the way she looks and her height. She's pretty tall for an 11-year-old, about to be 11. But then she gets all of her qualities as far as like being an artist from mom. So she loves to do art and draw, and she's incredible as far as where she is with like her talent level and drawing things and, crafts. So she gets all that from my wife. So my wife is, she's a graphic designer. So she actually has done all of our logo. She designed my logo. She's done all of our marketing material, does our brochures and stuff. So, like, she's phenomenal. But my daughter gets all that from her. I can't draw, like, pretty much at the stick figure level still from third grade.
Well, does she do the website too? Because you've got a nice website. Well done.
So website was kind of a split. So I actually designed about, I'd say about 80% of that myself. The logo and colors came from her, from Lori. I actually laid all that out myself, and then I contracted with a professional to
Yeah.
kind of put the final spin on it and do some of the animation. So I'm a very hands-on person. I spent the time to try to get the shell of it done, and then they kind of prettied it up. So, I had a good hand in that.
Hey, Franklin, I'm kind of curious about one thing. You are probably one of the few gentlemen in the industry that have had an opportunity to work with three of the finest CEOs that have actually served our industry. Ed McLaughlin, you have Doug Albrechts, and finally you have Mike Marusek. Now, all of them obviously are sort of different generations. I'm kind of curious about, your relationship with all three of them, and how did they affect your capability of starting your whole new journey with what you're doing with Q?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do regret at ECS last year, because though all three of those guys were there, getting a picture together with me. So I want to do that this year. But I I didn't know them all individually. I mean that well. At least Ed, when I was first with Sharp, I kind of noticed him from a distance. You know, he was definitely the president at that point, and I was still just kind of coming up the ranks. But I do remember him and his leadership, and the Aquas board we talked about came out during his tenure. And there was a lot of growth and things there. So I remember him just from a leader from a distance and kind of admiring. Doug actually met him in Atlanta. So when Sharp purchased DocuTeam, who was a dealer at that time, he was in charge at that point, but he actually came down, him and a lot of the executives for that launch. So really it was making the employees to feel good when that branch was turning over. So I remember him vividly there in the boardroom and, hanging out and stuff and kind of letting us know that side of him. And to me, he was, just very approachable. His style was a little different. I just kind of related and didn't know him that well, but just, he definitely rubbed off in a good way. And then absolutely Mike Marusik was there with me at Sharp for the majority of the time. And specifically, I remember when I went to leave Sharp to start my business, I actually requested a meeting with him. This is just how much respect I had for him and Sharp Corporation because of those three guys and just my career. So I wanted to go right to the top so that there was no, really, oddness about the whole thing. So I requested a meeting and he's immediately like, yes, let's have it. And I wanted him to know, what the company meant to me, because that's what really sparked my career. We talked about from the very beginning, that was the first exposure I had to the industry was with a Sharp dealer. So I wanted to lay out all that history and let him know, I was leaving to do my own thing because I was led, but I really wanted to continue to be partnered with Sharp and, work with the products and all those things and be a consultant, dealer and all that stuff. So it meant a lot for me for him to hear exactly why I left from my mouth and kind of get his blessing and for him to understand that I wasn't just some number, some guy that quit randomly and they don't know why this specialist left. So I really wanted to portray that to let them know how much I was honored to have been part of Sharp.
Well, you know what? That's a wonderful thing, and it's a great lesson. I mean, honestly, I'm not horribly surprised that Mike Marusik would take the call, be actively involved. He's one of the guys I know when we started getting engaged with certain transactions. I had called him about you, and he was pretty intimate about you and what you did, and very positive. So my hat's off to all three of those gentlemen,
Yeah.
and obviously with Mike Marusik as your last boss. The lesson is, make sure that you're visiting with people, encouraging people,
Right.
inspiring people. And he clearly did that for you. And my hat's off to all three of them and to Mike. And from this point forward, I know you're just going to keep kicking butt. So props to them.
Absolutely. Yep. Appreciate that. Now let's get that picture this year. So thank you.
You really had a wonderful experience to work with three different generations almost of executive level people. So I'm very
Absolutely.
happy to see that it all worked out for you the way it did. And as we leave this call, is there any advice that you would give to the industry at large? What do you see as coming down the pike in 23 or 24? What counsel would you want to share with people who are in the industry today?
I think back to what I was saying about the AV and the conference room stuff, what we see right now is lots and lots of Microsoft Teams rooms and Zoom rooms and these hybrid conference rooms. So that's what keeps us the most busy day after day after day is these upgrades. And because what we've seen from 2020, 2021, everybody was at home using the laptop, and that becomes so easy just to open Zoom or Teams or whatever those apps, and it was very, user friendly, and it just worked with a couple of buttons. Well, everybody goes back to the office, and whether or not your state, if you're back 100% or 50-50, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everybody's coming back, and what you're finding is those conference rooms are just not up to par. They're
Yeah.
clunky. You got old technology, wires everywhere. So just embracing that, because right now it's just replication, man. If you can learn how these work just 10%, it's replication over and over and over. So now every client that you visit could have one room. You could have 50 rooms and it's the same type of installs, and then it becomes a repeatable process and the stuff works. So right now I would latch on to that thought as you kind of move forward into the end of 2022 and 2023.
Awesome. And that's good counsel. The industry is
Yep.
looking for growth opportunities, and that's certainly an adjacent market. So my last question, and I'm not sure, I may stump you with this one, but do you actually even know who Frank Sinatra is?
I do know of him. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you
That'd
do
be
you
pretty
have a
embarrassing
favorite?
to say it's,
Do you have a favorite
you know,
song?
I do, and I would say I'm not the expert, I'm glad you didn't ask me to name, the whole catalog or something like that. But, I gotta
No.
say, it was a little bit, I went back and forth a little. I was thinking about this. I gotta say, That's Life is my favorite, because of some of
Awesome.
the lyrics. Yeah. I got to go with that one. So because of a couple of the lyrics in that song, and it actually is very true right now. So as I said this earlier, without really meaning to, but riding high, through your day and the months. But it actually says you're riding high in April, shot down in May. I'm going to
Boom.
change that tune when I'm back on top in June. So he's talking month to month, but as a business owner, that's true. Sometimes it's day to day, man. I've had deals that close and I'm on top of the world, and then an hour later, oh, well, here's this. I forgot about this cash flow thing we got to deal with or whatever. So that song hits to me hard. And then the next part where he's talking about, some people just like to kick you. They like to stomp on your dream.
Yeah.
And that's true, man. There's a lot of negativity out there right now. People just don't want to see you succeed, or just they want to suck you down. And so that song, those couple of parts really hits home. And I got to say, that's my favorite. It is musically a good song too, but the lyrics kind of hit with me because you got to just push through. It is life.
You gave me a big smile, man, because that's one of my favorites, probably one of the top two. And if you see the show name, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically next week's life. That's life. I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm really happy you know who Sinatra is. You know the song. You have a favorite, and you actually remember the lyrics. That's like champion
Yeah.
stuff. So, with
You-
that, I'd like to share my deepest appreciation for your time and for joining the show. I know the audience is going to learn a lot about you and a lot about what you do and be encouraged about the business. So, if you don't mind, Franklin, I'm going to say thank you again very much. We'll look forward to seeing you at the Executive Connection Summit, if not before. And thank you for your help. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a blessing. Good to see you always.
Same here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.